Hi guys, welcome to my channel again. So I'm just continuing on with what I'm doing in this direction, which is just talking about my experiences, and hopefully I'm resonating with people that are going through similar things or have gone through similar things, and sort of what we're understanding why these things have happened, what we can do differently, and how people can better their lives. And it's just no bullshit, just straight to effectively why we're doing these things. No, I don't like that. I'm gone rambling too much. Hi guys, welcome to my channel again. So today we're going to be talking about when I lived in my car, why I did that, um, all the reasons what led me to get into my car and use it as a home for almost 6 months, what then got me out of the car, the things, how I got the car suitable for living, some of the experiences I had while I was living in my car, which some of them were quite awful, but some of them were actually quite fun. So we'll sort of explore those bits, and hopefully again it resonates with some people out there who are either doing similar, are thinking about doing it, are worried about it, and hopefully I can sort of shed some light on that experience and how best to do it from my experience. So yeah, we'll go into that. So it sort of starts back in 2023. Towards the back end of 2023, I was renting a room in a house very close to where I was actually working. So it was kind of ideal location. I was paying about 650 quid a month just to rent this room, which people were calling me crazy because that's as much as rent these days ish. But I was renting a room and it was their house, but I just had that room. And it was kind of the best of both. I was getting cheaper rent. It was a house where they were barely ever there because they went to work and stuff. So on my days off, I literally had the house to myself. And it was so close to work, so close to the gym. So I was, again, in a really good shape, really committed to doing a lot of different things. Um, and just in general was having a good time. Um, I then got a message from them saying that one of their relatives had gone through something quite drastic and that they needed the room back because they needed to accommodate the family member coming back. So unfortunately, that gave me my month's notice. That information hit quite hard just because I knew for a fact I didn't have anywhere else I wanted to go. And my reasoning, as I'll explain, is I had my dad's house as an option, but that would be the second or third time I'd gone back to his house to live there after I had originally moved out back when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, whatever it was. And so, where I was mending the fences with my dad, I didn't want to then jeopardize that and go live with him again and then cause more damage to the relationship, and then maybe it never gets rebuilt. I'm trying to be on this healing path, and if I went back there, it's just not going to work, I don't think. And I'm just going to fall back into my old habits, which were bad. It was lazy, it was avoiding things. I didn't want to go back into that. In terms of friends, I had friends that I could possibly crash on sofas, but again, it was a risk factor. I'm relying on people and I'm putting people up, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to fend for myself to a degree. My mum was an option, but she lived an hour and a half away, hour and 45 minutes away, so not viable for work. So I stumbled across a video where it was this guy who, I think he was in America, and he decided to live in his car for a little bit, in a quite a big car, like a not a 4x4, but a fairly big family carrier. And he sort of kitted it out, made it into a home. And I was like, it's not too bad actually. It's like all things considered. And he did it for financial reasons because he was sick of the world and wanted to sort of be off the grid and blah blah blah. And then going into that rabbit hole of the van life sort of thing, I went down that path and I started looking at all these vans, and I was like almost convincing myself this is where I'm meant to be. I'm meant to do this sort of thing. And I get that's what YouTube's meant to do. It's the algorithm. It's meant to sort of like push you down this path, and then you probably get like, oh my God, I'm enjoying this. And it gives you more of it and reinforces that ideology that you've now got. So I'm going down this path. I'm looking into the vans, and I'm like, well, I can't afford a van. Definitely can't afford to renovate a van, or have the know-how skills. I could probably learn it, and I would love to do that. So that's a future goal. But what I'll do is I'll just live in my car. I can do it. I've spent so much time in my car anyway. In my previous video, I explained that I used to avoid confrontation with my dad by being in my car and effectively just staying out. So my car was kind of my safe space anyway. Just to put a bed in the back made made logical sense to me. So I did that by toying around with it to start with. So while I still had the comfort of a house and I still had a room and a bed and all that sort of stuff, I basically tested it out. So I tested the water. So in a way, I kind of tried before I buyed. I went to Dunelm is the first thing I did, and this was like my commitment. So once I'd done this, it was sort of like no backsies. But I went to Dunelm and I bought a mattress topper, and it was I think about £130. I bought it. It's obviously huge, it's a double bed, but I needed long enough to fit the length of my car from the front seats all the way to the boot tail. And I put it in there, put it flat with all the seats down, etc. And then I basically cut it to shape. So I cut it to fit my car. I then made sure it was all good. Yep, fits perfectly, and it's literally the shape of the back of my car. That became like the foundation. That was like the base to sort of give it some softness. And I tell you what, it's definitely not soft. Then I sort of added like a waterproof layer. So I put a base layer, like when you go camping, you put like the base layers down. Then you put like that little thin sponge layer. So I did that. Mattress on top. Then it was like sleeping bag, duvet, pillows, all that sort of stuff. And I tried it out. So I literally just had the mattress, just had the bedding, and all that sort of stuff. No other stuff in there. So it was slightly wider than a single bed, but it was on a slight slant where the seats didn't go all the way flat. So I tried it out. I just slept in it for one night in a random car park that I was sort of like familiar with the area. So it wasn't like an exotic neighborhood and I wasn't sure what's going on, what was going on. And it was all right. It worked. It worked really well. I was happy with my setup, and I was like, I could do this long term, like absolutely fine. Like, and yes, it was scary, and I was terrified that if this goes wrong, I've got no fallback, and I'm committed to this. But you've just got to do it. You've got to try it, and if you're going to do it, you got to do it right, and you got to make sure you protect yourself. So I literally was looking at my car. I was testing it. I was making sure when it locks automatically, it actually is locked. And because I'm in the car, people can't get in and stuff like that. The alarm's not going to go off if I move in the night, etc. So I tried all these things, got all the settings correct in my car, and I was basically ready to move into my car. The next thing I had to try and do was, because people are probably going to be asking, well, if you're saving 650 quid a month by living in your car, surely the 650 quid is money that I could be saving, investing, whatever. Well, no, the 650 quid, a lot of that went to storage locker because I'm still at this time paying a storage locker. So my first big relationship was with for 4 years. I had a flat's worth of furniture which had to go somewhere. I didn't want to sell it. I didn't want to bin it because the idea is eventually I'm going to find somewhere and that would populate it. So I'm still paying for this storage locker, which now has got more stuff in it because I haven't got a flat, I haven't got a room, I've only got a car. So I had to upgrade to a bigger storage locker. That storage locker then became my sort of like hub for replacement clothes, any spare bedding, bits and bobs like that. And it wasn't 24/7, which was a bit annoying. So I was limited in that sense. But it was very close to my work, very close to my gym. So I had effectively a 10-minute radius around work, which is where I would park up for the night and sleep, the storage locker where my spare wardrobe was going to be, and where the gym was. Now the gym comes in because it was a 24-hour gym, and that was where I would shit, shower, shave, brush my teeth, keep myself washed. And because I felt guilty about using it as a washroom and a toilet facility because I was effectively homeless, I went and gymmed every time I did that. So actually, I was going to the gym more than I ever was because I was going to gym 7 times a week. Might only be for 20 minutes, might be 10 minutes, but I was going gym. So by living in my car, I was actually in the best shape of my life because I was doing more gym. And it just goes to show like you can find a silver lining out of anything. Yes, I'm homeless. Yes, that's scary. Yes, there's lots of risks. but really, what are the risks? Like in terms of, yes, somebody can break into my car, someone can break into my house. Like it makes no difference. So anyway, so yeah, so I've bought all my supplies. I've got my storage locker upgraded. I've now got my setup. And what I'll do is I'll try and find a picture and I'll put a picture on the screen so you can see how my car looked. Now, my car's a Vauxhall Insignia, so it's a very low saloon car, not much space. So when I'm in the back and I sit up, my head's on the ceiling. I'm 6'3", and I managed to lie perfectly flat in the back with my head touching the passenger seat, which was all the way forwards, and my toes touching the boot. Um, and it worked just about. I had the benefit of the car was long. If I had like a little Toyota Yaris or something, I'd probably be up shit creek. Um, but I didn't, thankfully. I just wish I had a bit more headroom. In terms of entertainment, which obviously is a key thing because you need to be entertained to a degree, because you need to find happiness, try and find some sort of tranquility in a time of stress. I had my iPad, and I would watch films. I had 5G, so I would use my phone as a hotspot. Um, I can't stress enough the importance of power banks because they get you through the night if you need like charge your phone, charge your iPads. Um, I had like little lights that I would sort of like charge via USB and plug in, and they would all be sort of like hanging from like the hand holders, what you want to call them. Um, and so yeah, so I would be in there watching films, battery pack to sort of like keep me going. I was going to upgrade to one of these big portable power stations, which were like 400 or 500 quid, and that lasts like weeks, and they generate like fridges and all sorts, and you could use them for anything. But it turns out I didn't need that in the end. So yeah, so I'm doing that. Um, where should we go from there? So we spoke about the car I've been in, how I got there in terms of like the build up to it and what I spent on the furniture, so the mattress. The other things I had to consider was obviously the window blockers because I needed to stop people from peering in. Now my windows are slightly tinted on the back, but not enough to not see that somebody's sleeping in there, especially if I've got my phone on, and you can see I light up like a Christmas tree. So what I did was I bought some, basically it's like foil insulator, which I think you put around like back of radiators to like bounce the heat back into the house. I bought some of that and I duct taped one side of it, sort of like in strips, and that sort of created like a blackout on one side and then silver on the other side. But it also gave it like a bit more rigid, it made it more rigid. I then cut that to shape the window to the shape of the windows, and it basically popped in. So I'd effectively just like seal it into the windows, and it became like a portable job done. I put like a tab on one side and that with duct tape, so I could easily pull it off and push it back on. And it wasn't perfect. Sometimes it leaked, it like sagged where it might have got damp, even though it wasn't damp. It was just like where the condensation made it slip and there was no grip. So I had to keep sort of like applying more duct tape to it to sort of like thicken it up so it would stick longer. And I would have four of those, so four on each, one on each window. And obviously it only fits one window because I want the black to be on the outside so that people just see it's just blacked out. I had a big silver bit of insulation which would on the front windscreen, which then hooked into sort of like the lining of the roof. And I put the sun visors down, and that sort of held it in place, which was really good. So it blocked the front so no one could see in. And then the back, I had a permanently, again, a huge bit of insulation foil, whatever you want to call it, black gaffer tape all over it. So it's huge. And then I taped that to the back of my back window, so that was permanently blocked. Now I could do that because I had a rear dash cam which was on the outside, so that was my reversing camera, so I never had to worry about that glass being covered. And obviously that was the biggest window of opportunity for people to see into the car, so that had to be blacked out. So once I managed to sort that out, I know that I'm safe. People can't see into me. I know the car's locked. I'm now good. Um, Down my left hand side when I was in the car was I bought some boxes from Tesco's. They were like 10 quid each, and they were like lockable boxes. And I basically folded the bare minimum amount of clothing I need. So I had like a gym box, work box, a going out box, and then like a toiletry box and bits and bobs like that. And it had like a power box as well, and they would just go down the left hand side. So where it was slightly wider than a single bed, I would have effectively a single bed, and then on my left there was just boxes, and it had all my bits and bobs in there. And I would always put the most useful stuff nearest, and I had like a whole setup where I would go from bits to bits. Any dirty washing would go like into the footwell of the back, what would be the back passenger's footwell. But I got a box in there that was open, and that would be like my wash basket. So I put stuff in there. Now you're probably thinking, where do you get your washing done? In Northampton and actually all over the place, there are these mobile 24/7 washing machines effectively that you go to. They're normally in like um, petrol stations or in supermarket car parks. I can't remember what the name is. I'll put the link in the description. But basically, you go to these places, you book a washing machine and tumble dryer, you stick your clothes in, and then you wait for it to be finished. You pop it into the tumble dryer, wait again, job done. Then you take it out and they're dried. So I would literally take my home, which is my car, to these places. I put my washing in, park up in the petrol in the garage nearby, and I would just wait. And sometimes it'd take a couple of hours. I think the worst one I had quite a big build up of washing, and it took about 3 hours for it to be finished. And I would literally just watch a film while it's doing it, then put it in the tumble dryer because obviously I don't have an air or anything like that. So put it in the tumble dryer. That was like a couple of hours, and yeah, happy days. And but in the meantime, I might go to the gym or I might go and get some food, whatever it needs to be. Food was a bit of a difficult one because obviously you can't cook any meals. I did debate that if this was going to become more long term, of getting like a portable stove and cooking where like you would when you're camping. But because I wasn't sure, and then obviously things changed, I ended up just relying on fast food, supermarkets, and then going around friends' houses and stuff like that. The benefit I had, and not everyone's going to have this, is where I worked at the time. So because I worked in a restaurant, I got free meals. So I worked in a restaurant, and I got to have, as a manager, I had any meal for free, and you could almost kind of sort of like be a bit naughtier and have a little bit extra. And if I cooked it myself, I could add a bit more stuff in there. And I would do that, and I would stock up on food while I was at work so that I didn't need to. So I'd be intermittent fasting, which helped with my gym because I'm obviously managing my calorie input and stuff like that. Have as much food as I possibly can on my work days. That's only 5 days out of the 7. So the other 2 days, I'd rely on like McDonald's, I'd rely on KFC, bits and bobs like that, Domino's, a Chinese. I actually went to a Chinese once, bought some chopsticks and just had it in the car. Great, absolutely awesome. But word of warning, don't eat it in your bed. Go into the driver's seat, eat your food there, because I dropped a milkshake and it just completely destroyed my sleeping area. So I had to wait until that had been fixed and stuff like that. Another bit of advice: do not buy blow up inflatable beds. Um, I tried it. It's great to start with because it's comfy and you don't feel any of the hardness of the this chair, but mine somehow got a puncture from being in a car. It's not designed to be in a car. There's lots of metal bits and all sorts jabbing at it, and it had a slow puncture. So I would blow it up every night, and by morning I'd be laying flat on the chairs again, which my back took a beating and my ribs took a beating because I sleep on my side. So I'd wake up and be like, "Oh my god, what the fuck is that?" And it's because it just deflated overnight. So if there was a time lapse camera in the car, you'd see me just gradually sink into the car and then see my face go from sleepy, happy to pain, agony, and ugh, not good. So yeah, avoid inflatable. It also limits the amount of space as well. My headroom, my nose at one point I feel was literally on the ceiling, which it does not feel good. If you're claustrophobic, it ain't going to work for you. You're going to need a bigger car. So yeah, so definitely go for a mattress topper, and then just layer them up as much as you possibly can until you meet the requirement that you need for like softness. Because I know some people prefer like really soft beds. Some people can sleep on like a cold floor and be fine. So find out where your balance is and just buy that. You can just get a load of duvets and just keep piling them up and stuff like that. But the issue you got with that is if they get any moisture in there, you're going to get like the smell and you've got to wash and stuff like that. Whereas the mattress topper, it's got like the sponge and the memory foam, so it's a bit more hygienic, if anything. So I definitely opt for that. Um, yeah, so once you've done all that and you've got and I got all set up, food, that's that now sorted. So I work in a restaurant, which again, not everyone can do. Um, one thing I will definitely say to people, which is really good, is Too Good to Go. There's a company called Too Good to Go. Download the app on your phone, and you can basically see a splattering of restaurants nearby, and they will give you the food that's left over from whatever the night, the day that they've cooked, but it's either going to go in a bin or whatever. So you can pay like next to nothing for this, and then you go collect it, and you've got food. Now you don't know what the food necessarily going to be. So like from supermarkets, so if you go to like an Aldi or a Sainsbury's, something like that, you might get a box full of carrots, and actually that's not sustainable. Um, if you lived at home, you might not do something with that, but living in a car, it's not sustainable. But if you go to places like so I'm from Northampton. There's a restaurant called Poppy Fields, which is like um, just like a pub effectively, and it's got a buffet option. It's got a buffet, and you go and you collect the food to help yourself to it. You can pay, I think it was £2.99 for the meat option. No, £2.99 was for the the vegetarian option. £3.99 was the meat option, and you basically go, you take your box, you say which meat, they give you the meat that you want, like you would normally do, and then you get all your veg, just stick it all on, put some gravy on there, take it to the car, job done. If you've got knife and fork in the car, great. I use disposable ones, wooden ones I could just chuck in the bin, and then happy days. And it was awesome. I'm having a roast dinner every night for £3. And it's like, why are people not doing this anyway? Like, you're going to Deliveroo and you'd order a take, you like an order a full roast to come over and be delivered. One, you don't get to pick that food. Two, it costs like 15 quid with delivery and stuff. Just kind of too good to go. You don't know what necessarily what meat's left because it might only be ham and you might not like ham. But the veg, again, there might not be that much left. But every time I went, there was plenty to choose from. Especially if you get there just at the opening point of when you can collect. There's loads of stuff. So yeah, too good to go is absolutely amazing, and that goes for anyone who's tight with money, tight with anything. Go on Too Good to Go, and it will. I promise you, it will change your life around when it comes to food. The other thing is consider if you're going to be homeless and stuff like that, is consider getting a 24-hour gym. Most of these memberships now are like 15 quid and you get full access and you can go at any time of the day and you can use it as a hub. If you're out on the street and you're freezing cold, go for a shower. Sometimes the changing rooms you have to pay attention. Sometimes changing rooms like lock during the night to stop people from obviously using it as a shelter and sleeping in there because they don't want that obviously. But if you're going to be out and about, so like I was up at like the crack of dawn, getting up at 5 in the morning, going to the gym, showering before anyone else got there. So I didn't feel like anxious or like people going to question why I'm always there and stuff. That was all in my own head. Like, I didn't need to worry about that, but I did have that notion, that feeling, and so getting rid of that was brilliant, and it helped me out. Um, but yeah, that way I'm staying clean because people think you live in your car, you must stink, you must this, that, and the other. But no, I'm washing my clothes once a week like everyone else does. I'm showering every single day. I'm going to the gym every single day. I'm eating a roast dinner every single day. How many people can say that? I'm living the best life. But obviously, all this extra money is the £650. So the £650 I was paying for rent, which was actually putting me into like bankruptcy in terms of like I was in my overdraft, I was spending too much money on food, I was still avoiding things, I wasn't dealing with any issues that were in my mind and stuff like that, and so I was just chucking money at it. All those things were kind of gone because I was forcing myself into a situation that I have to, if I don't fix myself and I don't do things to better myself, I'm going to collapse, I'm going to sink, and I'm in a car. It's not like I've got the luxury of a house where I can spread my arms and I can chill out and I can do that. I'm in a prison cell effectively of my own thoughts. Fix yourself, and that's what I started to do, and that's what really helped me to get where I am now. Like if I hadn't have done the sleeping in the car, I would not be doing this now. I would not be in the mindset I have now. I feel like I'm in such a good peace of mind at the moment in terms of who I am, because I've had to get to know me. I've slept in my car for, I think it was about 5.5 months. I slept in my car, and I shared a bed with just myself and the cat that was parked outside, or whatever it was that kept making noises while I was sleeping. And it just helps. It helps massively. And again, this is not advice to say to people, if you're having issues, sell your house, go live in your car. I mean, to be fair, it might actually work. It might help people understand themselves more, because you're just becoming yourself. There's no distractions. I didn't have a TV with Netflix ready to go. I didn't have a fridge full of junk food and a drawer full of chocolate. I didn't have any of that stuff. All I had, and Wi-Fi, all I had was myself and the bare minimum, the literally the basic living essentials. That's all I had. And waking up in freezing cold conditions, because this started at the end of the year. So this is November, I believe it was. I lied. Sorry, it was the end of the year. I started to think this is what I want to do, but it was February. So February, I moved into my car. So I was peak winter in this country. So there was ice everywhere. Sometimes I had to wake up and I had to defrost my car. That's how cold it was. Um, and it's great at night because you put the heating on, you blast the heat, and you put as much heat in there as possible. You turn the engine off, lock the doors, and then you feel the heat just drop in slowly, because the cars are not designed to store heat for that long. It's not a home. Now, I could have paid for my car to be insulated completely. Pointless. It would have cost thousands. Not worth it. I just lay it up, put my hat on, and I'll share a picture of me in one of the cold nights with my hat on and stuff. But I still took my shirt off. I still slept basically naked, because that was what I'm used to. That's how I feel comfortable in bed. I just put more layers on. I put like another duvet, and then I could strip it if I need to. And in the morning, I'd probably put it back on because it's freezing. But that cold is like a wake up call. Like the amount of people that I've seen that tell you to be more stoic, you need to like have a cold shower in the morning. I didn't need to have that, because when I woke up, I was in a cold shower. I was in the coldest ice box you could possibly, basically outside, and I then had to get dressed in a freezing cold car where I couldn't stand up, couldn't sit up or anything like that, and I just had to wiggle my clothes on. I then had to climb into the front car, turn the engine on, wait for everything to defrost and stuff like that. I then would get out, go for a walk around wherever I was parked up, um, get a bit of fresh air, which was great. So I was doing things that people recommend you do basically anyway, which is wake up early, go out for a walk, get some sunlight to touch your eyes, all that sort of stuff. I was doing that naturally without people telling me to do that. I was just doing it because that made sense. And actually, it then helps me reinforce when these people do say this, when I'm watching these videos and it's like, oh, you need to do this. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course you do. That's what I was doing, and it made me feel better. So, actually, from experience, wake up early before everybody else, get outside, even if it's dark, wake up, go outside, wrap up, go for a 5 minute walk. My God, do you feel better? And I get this whole, you want to be in bed for another 5, 10 minutes, and it's like that extra minute. It's just like, oh, it's the best feeling in the world, because you roll over and it's just warm on that section, and you're just like, this is the best feeling in the world. And you start to drift off again, and then so on and so on. But how many people do that, and then 10 minutes later, you go, shit, I fell asleep again. What time is it now? Fuck, I need to get up ready for work. And it's like, then you rush around, you get to work, and your day's already started shit now, because you had that luxury 5 minutes in bed. Skip that, just get up, go for a walk, get the exercise, get some fresh air. You feel so much better, and you sleep better that night as well. It's brilliant. So anyway, back to my car. So experiences in the car, majority were positive, because I was with myself, I was learning, I was still watching films, I was still doing the things I loved. Actually had a VR headset at the time, again with the technology that I was spending money on that I didn't have the money to, but I was buying it anyway. And I put the VR headset on, and I could be anywhere in the world. I know it sounds stupid, but I could literally be anywhere in the world, and I would put myself in like a movie theatre, and I watched a film in a theatre which had so much space. Obviously, I knew I wasn't there, but it told my brain, you're not in a tiny little car. This is happy. And every now and again, you need that sort of like just to pick me up. Um, so I would do that. Um, the walks, I loved, positive. The meals, I had some of the best meals in my life, like the roast dinners that were from a restaurant that were fresh from there. and I would eat them straight away. Loved them, and I would never have known about that if I was living in a house still. I'd be cooking my own meals, which might be better for me, but I was having some wicked times. Like, it was great. I was going gym more than ever because I relied on the gym for my um, hygiene and stuff like that, and toilet. So like when you need toilet, that's the only place you can go because the disabled toilet is always open in the gym 24/7. So if you need to take a shit in the middle of the night, which did happen a couple of times, you get up, you drive your car to the nearest gym, but the gym, you walk in, you do a quick workout. You don't want the cameras to look like you just walked in, took a shit, and walked out. So you do a quick workout, couple of bicep curls, go to the disabled toilet, do your business, come out, doing a couple of bicep curls, so it looks like you actually have been for a workout. And then I normally sort of like made it, it was always 15 minutes was the minimum that I'd be in there, because if it was any less than that, I feel like it would flag up. Probably didn't, and they probably didn't give a shit. I'd pay a membership, I can do whatever I want. So but I would do that anyway, and it actually helped me. I was like getting a pump at 1 in the morning, and I'd have to get dressed into my gym gear because obviously I don't want to turn up in my pajamas and stuff like that. Stupid. Anyway, you get to that point, happy days. We're all going in a good spot. I spent my birthday in my car by myself. Sounds sad, but it was actually really nice. I then met my family in the evening, I think, and we had like a meal out, stuff like that. Everyone knows that I was sleeping in my car. The hardest thing was telling my mum. My mum is very much a free spirit. She loves growing her own crops. She's got chickens, so she provides like eggs all the time, stuff like that. So she lives off the land to a degree, and she's very anti-establishment and bits and bobs like that. But not to get too much into that. I thought she would love the idea of me being off grid, doing this, being one with nature to a degree. She hated it. She was so upset with it, and she was emotional. She was crying because she was scared that I'm doing this and I'm homeless. And it was just that first shock. And it took me so much to convince her that this is what I'm choosing to do. This is not like a I've been kicked out and I've got no other choice, and it's just I'm fucked. This is I've made a decision. It's I've spent 3 months planning this because I always knew this was going to be an option to a degree. Then I got that kick like we need you to move out. Fuck, this needs to go into gear now. A month, plan it out, trial and error. It worked. Let's do this. Commit. And that's all of what it is. It was commitment, and it was one bit each every day. It was like getting a bit closer to the goal, and so on and so on. And I had to convince her that this is great. And I told her I've just done a trial shift effectively in my car. I took some pictures. I called her from the car and said I'm doing it. She's a bit nervous. And then yeah, I said to her it was great. I woke up, went for a walk, and she instantly was like, fine, I'm happy. Obviously, I kept her updated with anything that went wrong, stuff like that, which things did. Um, and yeah, happy days. So that was the hardest thing for me. And I think for people out there that are thinking about doing this or are in a position where they have to do this, that's the hardest thing. It's telling your loved ones, telling your family, your friends that this is what I'm doing, because they're going to feel, in theory, an essence of guilt because they could put you up for a little bit, but you don't then want to take their freedoms away and whatever for your sins, whatever it needs to be. So I get it. That's the hardest bit. But definitely share the information. Don't hide it from your family, because your family are your core, and if you can't tell them what you're doing, then who are you going to tell? And like, it's honestly from the bottom of my heart, tell the people you love, tell the people that you trust this is what you're doing. I told them people first, and they supported me, and it was great. I then told my work colleagues because I wasn't afraid of it anymore, and they were judging me at first, but not in a negative way, not like you're an idiot. They were like, no, you're not, surely not. And then you end up convincing them, no, I am. Look, there's me in the car. Do you want to come see it? Open the back door. There's my bed. There's all my stuff. Oh my God. And then before you know it, people that have watched similar videos and are like, I would love to do that with a van and that stuff, you start chatting to people. I worked with people, I worked with what, 15 people. Out of those 15 people, about 4 of them had dreamt about doing that in the future at some point. 2 of them were like really wanting to do that and were like, I'm glad you've done that, because it's like giving me like some confidence, like I might do that at some point. If they do it or not is another question. They're not in a financial position that they need to do that. They just want to do it because they want to be off the grid. And I think a lot of people are like that. So actually, I was giving people that sort of the nod. It's doable. I'm doing it because of financial reasons. Um, to a degree. Yes, there was an element of choice in it. I could have gone somewhere else, but I chose to do this because I wanted to save as much money as possible and correct my brain in some way. But you'll find there's so many people out there that kind of support you. You will get the odd person who thinks that's stupid. Who cares? Let them think what they want. You're entitled to your opinion. Do what you want. Let's bring it on to the bad experiences. Now, I had one bad experience, and it is literally just one bad experience. I pulled up in a lay-by. Now, where I find all the parking spots, there's a phone app called Park 4 Night, something like that. Again, I'll put the link to the app, which I'm not related to or anything like that. It's just what I used. Um, you basically go in there, you find your location, and it shows you all the parking locations. If there's a cost, what the rating is like, any issues with it, all the like user reviews, blah blah blah. With sometimes with pictures of like where to go, certain bits, and you basically just find the one you want. You click on it and you go, "Yep, I'll go to that one." And this one I went to was a lay-by, just outside Northampton on a main road, sort of sheltered from the main road by like trees and stuff. And generally, you get a lot of lorries park up there in the night because it's quite a big lay-by. You get some vans that park up for a nap or whatever it is. I didn't realise this was like a local dogging site. On certain days, they they all come out. Um, so I parked there a couple of times. I think I spent a week at there at one point, and everything was fine. And then randomly, I started seeing people walking around. I was just watching YouTube film or something in my car in the driver's seat, getting ready to sort of like tuck up sort of thing. So I put some of the window blockers on, but I left the one on my right, so I've got some fresh air and I cracked the window a little bit. All the lights are off, so it's just my phone as the only light, so I can see outside the windows and I can see people walking around. I was like, just stretching their leg, just lorry drivers getting a last little stretch before they go to bed or before they go to work, whatever it needs to be. And yeah, guy with a nice big trench coat comes over to my car, walks past it. A bit weird, he got a bit close. Walks back. It's getting weird. Am I about to get stabbed? Am I about to get raped? I don't know what the fuck's going on. Um, and then, yes, he knocks on my window and gets ready to reveal his, what do we want to call it? It's Johnson. And I had to literally swear my ass off and threaten him just to get him to bugger off because he thought that was what I was expecting. And I wasn't. I didn't even know that. I've never done dogging in my life. Don't intend to. But that's apparently what you do. You turn up and you just look out your window, and that's an invitation to watch this guy do his business. So I had to effectively beat my chest, threaten him to get him to disappear, and I very quickly got. I didn't never got out my car, not risking that. I very quickly just started the engine, drove off, and I found somewhere else, another safe spot, and I never went back to that place because I'm not risking it. And it was a funny story for work the next day. So yes, I've had my first dogging experience. I could have beaten the living crap out of that guy, but I didn't want him to stab me or someone else does whatever. So not worth the risk. Don't ever get into confrontation, especially in a dark lay-by where you don't know what's going on with people that are doing unspeakable things. So yeah, that was my first and only experience of dogging, and I promise you I can't recommend. Be safe if you ever do go to a lay-by. If you can find out if it's a dogging site, try and find out. It was something I didn't even think of. I thought it was something that you hear back in the day, but not in the not in 2023 or whatever it was at the time. But yeah, still happens. So yeah, your best bet is finding car parks that are close to um, houses and like little communities and villages or whatever it is, like safer spaces where there's doorbell cameras and stuff like that, where you just feel a bit more. Nowhere's going to be safe completely, but it's a bit safer than a lay-by. So definitely one of my top tips: find a safe space. Um, that was the only bad experience in 5 months, 5.5 months. That was the only bad experience, and it could have gone terribly wrong. I'm very glad that it didn't. Um, and people might say nothing really happened, but it's the you see the horror stories on the news of this happened and that happened. That could have been a situation had I dealt with it differently or whatever. So protect yourself is the most important thing. You've only got one pane of glass and a door, which if you're an idiot and you leave your car unlocked or something, they could get it all sorts. Like, you've got to protect yourself. You're such vulnerable, especially if you're going to be asleep in such a thin box effectively. When you're in a house, yes, someone could break into your house and it's exactly the same principle, but you've got layers of the house. You've got to go upstairs, you've got to go into the bedroom, you've got to whatever. And there's like a sanctity around a house. People are going to be a bit more nervous. When there's a car, people break into cars all the time because they want to rob cars. Like, and if you're in the car, you don't want to get like in the middle of something. So that is a big risk factor. So find somewhere that you're safe to do so. Um, I would definitely say recommend watching a lot of these sort of like van life videos, because what you'll find is they show tips and tricks on how to find safe locations and sort of like what to do if something does go wrong. You will get police. No, none of the police never bothered me in any way, shape, or form, because no one ever knew that I was sleeping in my car. I don't announce it to anyone what I'm doing. It's not obvious when you look at me because it's a saloon car. It just looks like it's been parked there for the night. But just be careful where you park. If you park on the sides of the road, people might alert the police that there's a car that's been parking there every night, stuff like that. So try and find public spaces that are free to use, are off the grid to a degree and away from public eye, because you just want to minimize as much risk as possible in any sense. You just want to keep the radar off you. So yeah, so that's definitely some top tips there. It matters what job you've got as well. The job I had its own car park, and I was registered on the car park, so I could park there indefinitely. And I was on camera because the building had cameras, and then I had access to that. So if anyone broke into my car at night, I'd be able to see. I could review my footage of myself sleeping in my car effectively. So that massively helped and gave me a bit of security. Um, but I was embarrassed to do that first. It was only towards the end that I started doing that. So that's something to bear in mind. Maybe, I mean, if you're getting to the point where you're having to live in your car, it might be that a job career change might be an option. And if you can find somewhere that has some benefits that will help you in the short term, switch jobs. If that job is not doing anything other than, because clearly finances are an issue if you're having to sleep in your car, or there's something that's fundamentally going not the way you want it to go. So try changing something. The job might be that. I've always said to people, don't necessarily just look at the money that you're going to get paid. It's a big factor, obviously, but look at the benefits, and the benefits might be hidden. The benefits for me were the car park. It was a free car park, like a park, and I was one of the managers at the restaurant, so I had access to it, and I was never late to work because I was living in the fucking car park. Like, these are benefits that were never advertised on the job advert. Like, look at those sort of things. McDonald's might have, it might say free food and stuff. Actually, you get to park in their car park for overnight and do whatever you need to do. You might, it's, you get the perks and stuff where outside of the work, where you get discount at these restaurants and this, that, and the other. Like, these are the perks that actually might save you more money and stops you spending more money, because you can get a job that's 20 grand, but it's got 5 grand's worth of benefits that you'll use over the years. So actually, it's 25 grand worth of salary. Or you get a 25 grand salary, but you spend 5 grand on doing these restaurants and stuff like that you were going to do anyway, but you haven't got your discounts, so you're just spending 5 grand. So actually, you're only on 20 grand. So actually, the 20 grand job is more beneficial to a degree, or it's like for like. Maybe it's making a difference. But yeah, but to everyone that is thinking about going to live in their car, living in their van, whatever. Um, these are hopefully some like experiences and bits that I've done that will hopefully help some people out there. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I appreciate if anyone does watch this video, thank you for watching. They will get better. I'm just hopefully chatting out and trying to just find my feet and understand what's going on. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hope to see you soon.